Everyone in the Marine Corps lobby froze when the Navy admiral stepped inside, her eyes landing on the single dad janitor trembling under accusations. The USMC captain had just called him a liar in front of everyone. But the moment the admiral saw the man's face, she whispered, "My God, you saved my life." And in that instant, the truth shattered the room like glass. The Marine Corps Training Command building buzzed with morning energy, crisp uniforms, echoing footsteps, and the powerful scent of authority. But in the far corner stood a man who didn't quite belong. Ethan Cole, a quiet, tired-eyed single father, wore a faded janitor's jumpsuit and held a bucket in one hand. His daughter had been sick all week, and with bills piling up, he had taken overtime shifts just to afford the medicine she needed. That morning, he wasn't cleaning. He was simply standing near the front desk, nervously holding a sealed envelope he'd kept hidden for years. It contained proof of something he avoided speaking about. Something he once wished to forget. Ethan approached the counter. I need to speak to someone about a service record correction." The receptionist blinked in surprise but nodded politely. Before she could respond, Captain Mason Grady stormed out of his office. His uniform was immaculate, his voice sharp, and his ego sharper. "What's going on here?" he demanded. The receptionist tried to explain, but Ethan timidly held out the envelope. "I'm requesting a review of an old classified engagement." "The Navy," Captain Grady snatched the envelope from his hands. "You? A janitor? Requesting access to Marine records?" He laughed loudly enough for several officers around to turn. "What are you trying to pull, Cole?" Ethan swallowed hard. "I'm not pulling anything. I served once. I can prove it." The captain's jaw flexed with irritation. "Yeah? And I'm the president. Listen, janitor, we don't entertain fantasies here. Stop wasting military time." He tossed the envelope onto the counter, scattering its contents. Photographs. Documents. A broken, tarnished silver dog tag. Ethan reached to gather them, his hands shaking. Captain Grady glared at him. "You're a liar. And if you don't leave this facility in the next 10 seconds, I'll have security escort you out." The room grew painfully silent. Just then, Ethan heard a small voice in his head, his daughter's voice from that morning. "Daddy, don't let them scare you again." He stood straighter. "No. Not today. I'm telling the truth. I was part of the rescue team off Makara Island. Operation Tidefall." Grady scoffed so loudly it echoed. "There is no record of you. No commendation. No deployment. Nothing. If you were part of some heroic mission, we'd know." Ethan closed his eyes in pain that he knew why there was no record. The mission had been classified for years. He had been quietly discharged due to injuries, and the only officer who knew the truth had vanished from the service after the operation. "So," Grady said, stepping closer, "you're either confused or lying for attention." Ethan clenched his jaw. "I'm not lying." "Prove it," the captain snapped at Ethan. Took a shaky breath. "The female officer we rescued, the one who pulled the wounded pilot out of the water, her name was." The lobby doors opened with a heavy metallic push. Every Marine turned. Walking in with medals glimmering under the bright hall light was Admiral Julia Hart, the highest-ranking Navy woman in the region. Her presence carried silence like a weapon. Everyone straightened instinctively. Captain Grady immediately saluted. "Admiral on deck." But Admiral Hart wasn't looking at him. Her gaze had locked on Ethan. Not the uniformed officers, not the front desk, not the flags on the wall, only him. Her stern expression slowly melted into disbelief. She took one step forward, then another. Her voice wavered. "Ethan. Ethan Cole?" Ethan's throat tightened. "Ma'am." Captain Grady blinked between them, confused. "You know him?" The Admiral didn't take her eyes off Ethan. "Know him," she whispered. "He's the reason I'm standing here alive today." The room erupted in stunned whispers. Captain Grady paled, and Ethan, for the first time in years, didn't feel invisible. Admiral Hart moved closer, her boots echoing like quiet thunder in the shocked lobby. She reached out, placing a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder, the same shoulder she'd leaned on the night he carried her through burning shrapnel and knee-deep waves. She turned to Captain Grady, her voice cold as the sea. "You called him a liar?" Grady stiffened, trying to regain control. "Ma'am, he claimed involvement in a classified mission with no record." You were simply wrong," she cut sharply. "Ethan Cole was never supposed to be forgotten. The only reason his name isn't in your system is because the entire mission was sealed at the highest level." The captain swallowed hard. The Admiral continued, her tone rising with emotion rare for someone of her stature. I was a young lieutenant commander. My unit was ambushed. My people were dying. And out of the smoke came a rescue team that wasn't even supposed to be deployed that night. She paused, eyes softening. Ethan carried me half a mile under fire when I couldn't walk. He shielded 3 of my sailors with his body. He dove into storm waters to retrieve the locator beacon when we had minutes left before the enemy aircraft returned. She turned slowly to Ethan. You refused commendations. You disappeared. Why didn't you ever come back? Ethan looked down, his voice barely holding. My wife, she got sick. I had a daughter to raise alone. The medals didn't matter anymore. Admiral Hart blinked, her eyes glistening. Captain Grady stepped forward nervously. Ma'am. I didn't know. That, she said sharply, is the problem. You didn't ask. You assumed. The captain stood frozen. Ethan tried to intervene. Ma'am, it's okay. No, she replied firmly, it's not. She signaled to a nearby officer, get the legal department. Reopen Operation Tidefall records with my authorization. And restore Ethan Cole's service status immediately. Gasps filled the lobby. Ma'am, Ethan whispered. You don't have to. I do, she said softly. You deserve every honor you were denied. Then she did something no one expected. She saluted him. A full, formal, respectful salute. The lobby fell silent. Officers looked at Ethan with newfound awe, some even stood at attention. Ethan stared, overwhelmed, and no. I'm not in uniform. You were in this long before any uniform, Admiral Hart whispered. Ethan's eyes burned with tears he had held back for years. He thought of the nights scrubbing floors, the humiliation, the broken pride, the quiet sacrifices made for his daughter, and now, this moment, he felt something return that he thought he had lost forever, his dignity, his honor, his story. Admiral Hart stepped closer and said quietly, your daughter should know who her father really is. Not a janitor. A hero. Ethan's voice cracked. She's the hero of my life, but thank you. Captain Grady, red-faced and humbled, approached Ethan. Sir, he whispered, I'm truly sorry. Ethan nodded. We all make mistakes. The Admiral turned to the room and spoke with authority that left everyone breathless. Let this be a reminder, heroes don't always wear uniforms, sometimes they wear the clothes of a janitor, a father, a man who never asked for praise. She placed Ethan's old dog tag in his hand. Welcome back, Ethan. And for the first time in a very long time, Ethan Cole felt seen.